and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me for this presentation on action verbs and state verbs. So I'd now like to share my screen with you. Look at these questions. They were from Lisa and Susan. Lisa asked, what's correct? I'm feeling sleepy or I feel sleepy. So continuous tense or simple tense. And Susan had asked, does I haven't felt well recently mean I'm still unwell? So the questions are about the verb feel, but touch on this tricky topic of is feel an action verb or a state verb? Can we put it in a continuous tense or not? That's the basic question. So we're going to review action verbs and state verbs together, starting with what they are, obviously. So there are two types of verbs in English, action and state. 95% of verbs describe an action: eat, chat, read, send. And if you think about these actions, the action can stop and start again easily. I can be eating, I can stop, and then I can start to eat again. And fewer number of verbs, only about 5% of them, describe a mental or emotional state. For example, like, know, belong, exist. And these states are usually a bit more permanent. They can't stop and start again easily. And they're called state or stative verbs. So that's the definition of the two types of verbs. Now, let's look at what is special about state verbs. State verbs can't take continuous tenses. So, for example, if you're eating a dessert, you can't say, although both things are happening at the same time, you can't say, I am liking this dessert I'm eating. I'm eating, no problem, present continuous, because it's an action, but you can't say, I'm liking it. You have to change the present continuous to its simple equivalent. I like this dessert I'm eating. So that's for present simple, present continuous. Another tense, present perfect, you can't say these two people, they have been knowing each other for less than a week. The have been knowing, present perfect continuous, changes to its simple form. They have known each other for less than a week. But then if we have the action verb chat, of course, you would put it in the present perfect continuous tense. They have been chatting for over 2 hours. So for this, state verbs cannot go into a continuous form. So where do we go from here? We go to the little problem that some verbs, not many, just a few verbs, are both action and state. And I have divided these verbs into 3 groups. The first group is what we call sense verbs, like taste, smell, and look. These verbs can designate an action if you're experiencing something, or a state if you're describing something. For example, if you have a glass of wine and you're drinking it, you can say, we are tasting the wine. It's an action in progress. Or someone was looking at some options, it's an action. He can start and stop looking at the options. So you would say he was looking at all the options. But when the same verbs describe something, now they are state verbs and we cannot put them in the continuous tense. For example, you would say, we are tasting the wine, and the wine, we can't use the continuous form, is tasting nice, changes to the simple form. The wine tastes nice. Or all the options not were looking expensive, but looked expensive. So this is the first group, sense verbs. Let's look at the second group. These are some verbs that have 2 different meanings. And I think I've chosen 5 important ones for you. So let's look at them one by one. The first one is the verb to be. Now, to be is 99% of the time a state verb when you describe something. But very occasionally, it is a synonym for the action verb behave. Behave. So if you say to someone, if you hear, why are you being so difficult today? So the state verb be with the continuous tense, it's because we're using it as a synonym for behave. We want to say, why are you behaving in such a difficult manner today? But of course, in the answer is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. We now cannot use I am being sorry, although it's for this moment, or I am being exhausted. So why are you being so difficult? Action. I am sorry, I am exhausted. State. So that's first verb. The second verb in this category, two different meanings, is have. You know that have means own or possess. That's its main meaning. But sometimes we use it to replace verbs like eat, drink, or experience. So it changes its meaning to an action verb. For example, in the examples I've written, is she having a good time? Is she experiencing a good time? Present continuous at the moment. But if your answer is, I have no idea, now we're using the verb have as a state verb. So we can't say, I'm having no idea. You know, it sounds really strange. So you know naturally, reflexively, that it's, I have no idea. But that explains why sometimes you see this verb in the continuous tense, and most of the time you don't. The next important verb in this group is think. Again, if you think about it, it has two different ideas. One is reflect, consider. It's an action. You can think about something and then stop thinking about it. But the other one is the state, meaning having an idea, an opinion, a synonym for I believe. Right? So my examples are, you can ask someone, have you been thinking about a topic? Have you been reflecting, considering? And the answer would be yes, yes. I think I'll speak about dolphins, for example. So you see the two different ideas, meanings of the verb think here. So these three are the most common ones that you have to be very aware of, be, have, and think. But I thought of two other ones that could lead to confusion. So I thought I'd mention them to you. Actually three. Two of them are here. The verbs mean and want. Obviously, let's look at the state meanings, which are the common meanings. Mean is to signify. What does this word mean? And want is to desire, when you want something. But these two verbs are also used very occasionally as synonyms for intend. And then they become action verbs. So rarely, but you might have already heard, I've been meaning or I've been wanting to ask you for a refund. So we are using them with their intend meaning in the continuous form. Now, if we now go to the state meaning of these verbs, we can no longer use the continuous form. So we can't say, what are you meaning? No, it's always, what do you mean? Or you're wanting a refund? We can't say that. It's, what do you mean you want a refund? So simple forms, because now they have a state meaning. And the last one that came to my mind was the verb love, from the famous McDonald's thing saying, I'm loving it. That's why it came to me. A student had asked that question, why is it I'm loving it? Because love can also be used as an action verb, meaning to enjoy. Whereas, of course, its usual state meaning is to like very much. So, for example, if it's the sun is shining today and you're sitting in the sun, you can say, oh my God, I'm loving the sunshine today. But if you want to say that how you feel about something in general, you cannot say, oh yes, I'm loving sunny days. It's a state, it's an emotional state, and you can't say that. You have to change it to the simple form. I love sunny days. So these are groups 1 and 2, relatively easy to get the idea. Now let's look at group 3, slightly trickier, the final group, and that is verbs with the same meaning, but with different emphasis. And the 3 important ones are live, work, and the final one, feel. So look at the verb live. When we use this verb, it could refer to a short-term temporary situation, in which case it becomes closer or more similar to an action. Like, let's say your house is being decorated and currently at the moment you're living with your sister. So it's a temporary situation. Therefore, we would probably say, I've been living with my sister, and it's short term for a month. The idea is that it will soon change. It's temporary. Whereas when this verb live refers to a long-term fact, it becomes a lot more similar to a state, like I have lived in this town all my life. You could say I have been living in this town all my life. It's not wrong, but it's like a bit unnecessary. So live, work is exactly the same. If it's a short-term temporary situation, it gets closer to an action, like working on a project or working, for example, I have here on these slides. She has been working on these slides for a week, and she continues to do so. But if it's now becoming more of a fact of your life or her life, then it's more likely that we want to use it as a state verb, like she has worked for this firm for 11 years. Right? It's not something that can change straight away tomorrow. And that brings us to the verb that started the questions from Susan and Lisa, and that's the verb feel. Again, same thing. You can think of it as a short temporary situation, similar to an action. Your feeling can change suddenly, quickly. For example, you could say, I'm feeling hungry. I'm going to have my sandwich now. That eating of your sandwich will change the feeling. It's temporary. Whereas it could also be a long-term fact, similar to a state. Maybe you have a cat, your neighbor has a cat, the neighbors don't treat him well, and you feel sorry for this cat. So these are the 3 verbs that can lead to confusion. So let's now go to the questions. Let's see how these questions are answered in view of what we have just looked at. So Lisa asked, what's correct? I'm feeling sleepy or I feel sleepy? Well, as we've just seen, they're both correct. If you use the continuous tense, I'm feeling sleepy, then it's something that you think, it can change very quickly. I think I'll go to bed now. But if you say something like, I feel sleepy, it's as if this state is going to stay with you longer. Maybe you're at work, you've just had lunch, and you think, oh, now I feel sleepy. It will be hard to concentrate this afternoon. It's very, very similar, very difficult to really distinguish which is which is why native speakers usually just use them interchangeably without thinking about this very subtle distinction. So let's look at the second question. It was from Susan. So what about I haven't felt well recently? Does that mean I'm still unwell, or I have felt, which is usually a finished action, and now I'm okay? Tricky. Again, listening to native speakers around me using these tenses, usually when they even say I haven't felt well recently, they're using it as a state verb with the sense that the state has been there for some time and may not change quickly. So they're still feeling unwell. That's the idea that they're trying to give you. Not that they have felt unwell and now they're okay. But you can also say, and it's probably better to say, I haven't been feeling well recently, because this gives more a sense of a short-term situation, but, well, hopefully you can soon feel better. The situation may change soon. It's temporary. It's always that distinction between temporary, now, can change soon, or long-term fact. is more likely to continue as it is, right? Okay, I think that's it. I'm just going to finish with a quick summary because I know there's been a lot of information. So usually it's very clear if a verb is action, like eat and chat, you can start and stop, or state, like you like something, you like it, you can't suddenly unlike it, or you know something, you know it, you can't suddenly unknow it and then know it again. I think that's quite easy to distinguish. And we've looked at the main ones that can be both. Reminding you, sense verbs, taste, smell, and look. And the second category was verbs with two different meanings. And I had chosen these 5 for you, which are the most common. There may be 1 or 2 other ones, but you won't come across them probably. So be, have, think, want, and mean. The tricky one was the third group, verbs with the same meaning but different emphasis on action or state. And the 3 we discussed were live, work, and feel. These 3 cause confusion, especially with the present perfect tense, where the simple and continuous forms finally mean the same thing. If someone says, I've been living here for a year, they're treating the verb live as an action, so they're putting it in the continuous form. Someone else may think of it as a state, a long-term situation, and treat it as a state verb and say, I have lived here for a year. They mean exactly the same thing. And it's important to remember this so you don't misunderstand the second speaker, the one who said, I've lived here for a year, because usually if we use I have done with an action verb, it means it's over, it's finished. Right, that's the end of the presentation. I hope it has clarified to a great extent the difference between action and state verbs and help you a little bit towards using them correctly. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. For more on this topic, click here. Remember to also check out my complete online course and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and happy studies!